Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. And yeah, tomorrow is the Fed meeting. We are still waiting for that, but we know right now there's still not much going on, but there's something interesting going on. Cardano is actually reacting to the 200-day moving average, and it reacted to it a bunch of times in the past couple of days, and this is actually very good because we never really got below it and we always used it as support. Now of course you could say that we got below it right here and even right here, but these were only wicks, and we never really closed a daily wick, for example, below it, which is actually very bullish because the last time we got below the 200-day moving average was down here, and as you can see, after we got below it, we stayed below it until we had another cross on the bull market support band and until we actually got a pump that put us above the bull market support band. So I mean, the fact that we did not do this right here is actually very bullish, and I actually want to compare this move that's happening right now to the pattern that we were in the previous cycle, because not much is going on in the market. So I mean, I think it's time to do that. And as you can see right here, in this pattern right here, after we formed a big 1-2-1-2 setup, just like the setup we're in right now, we never really broke below the 200-day moving average on the daily chart. As you can see, yes, we did have some wicks below it, but we did not really stay below it. And like I said, we could be copying what we did over here. This is also an uptrend. So if we are doing this right here and not something else, right now we should not get another low and we should keep this uptrend. So yeah, we have an uptrend and we have a trend line right here. So if we are doing what we did in the previous cycle, we should get a bounce relatively soon and we should complete a fifth wave move to the upside. We should get a bounce pretty soon and we should complete the fifth wave move up. Once we complete the fifth wave move up, I will be able to confirm that the low right here is in. And I mean, I'm still expecting another low if we do not form 5 waves up. And like I said many times, I'm still expecting Bitcoin and Ethereum to drop, but maybe the low is already in, and honestly, who knows? At this point, it's just, going sideways, so it's hard to say. We do not really have 5 waves up. However, if you look at the Bitcoin chart, it's still below the 200-day moving average, and it keeps getting rejected by it. And like I said, once we get back above it, and once we get above the bull market support band again, I think, it will pretty much be confirmed that the low is in right here. But until then, yeah, I mean, we could always drop to the next support zone, which is at $75,000 or $69,000. And on the Ethereum chart, we have the exact same thing again. We dropped to the 0.618 support level, but we did not bounce. We are still below the bull market support band. We are still below the 200-day moving average. So until we get back above like $3,000, I cannot confirm that the low is in, and we could always drop further. And that's why I think that the possibility of a double bottom on the ADA chart is still possible until we actually get 5 waves up. Now the fifth wave right here is expected to get to somewhere between, let's say, $1.25 and even $1.35, and yeah, if we get to these levels, we will get rejected again because this would be a fifth wave move up, meaning that this will complete a first wave, and then after that we will need an ABC down. So don't get your hopes too high thinking that we will get above this high right here and then we will go to the moon, because that's not going to happen. We will still need an ABC down. This will complete the second wave of the third wave right here, and once the third wave of the third wave of the third wave will start, that will be the altcoin season that everybody has been waiting for quite some time now. And yeah, during that time, Bitcoin dominance will most likely drop. And speaking of Bitcoin dominance, it's still going sideways, and this is actually very good because it's showing weakness, even though it's still at 60%. The fact that we did not perform another cycle high right here is actually very good, because in the past 2 years, for example, it only went up. It never really went sideways for too long. So the fact that we keep getting rejected at 62%, I mean, it's actually very good, and I think this will still break down at some point this year. We just don't know when. I mean, my prediction still remains that it might start breaking down at the end of March if we actually start QE. However, you have to keep in mind that in the 2017 cycle, we did not really need QE to start the altcoin seasons. So I mean, nobody knows exactly what will happen, but I think this will start breaking down this year, and once it does, you will not look back, and I think Cardano and the other altcoins will be at all-time highs by the time Bitcoin dominance gets to like 40%. So I think we are very close to getting something very big, but you just need some patience. And I know not many people want to be patient, but if you are patient, like we were down here for example, when Cardano was at like 30 cents for like 6 months, if you are patient and you wait for these pumps, they will happen at some point, at least in my opinion. I don't see why they would not happen, considering the fact that Cardano is respecting support levels. It's even above the 50% support level right here, which is actually very good, and the low could already be in. We do theoretically have an ABC down, so like I said, the low could be in, but we still need another fifth wave move up to be able to confirm that. And also you have to keep in mind, if we get to these highs right here, that will put us above the 0.618 resistance level, where we got rejected like 6 times before. We actually got rejected here, 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 and here. So we will most likely break above it, but once we do, like I said, we will still need an ABC down, and then when we break above it again for the 8th time or so, that will be the time when Cardano will finally stay above it, and yeah, that will trigger the third wave of the third wave of the third wave. I know that's a meme, and I know it sounds funny, but that's what it is. It's a third wave of a third wave of a third wave, and I'm still waiting for that. So far, everything I have said about Cardano turned out to be true, so maybe it's not going to continue, maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I still think that Cardano will be at all-time highs by the end of May, and it will be somewhere between $2.98 and even $5.30. And it all depends on what we do, to be honest with you. I mean, if we break above the trend line right here, like we did in the previous cycle, that should give us a really nice pump. And like I told you many times, once that pump happens and once it starts, many people are going to miss it. And again, they are going to start buying Cardano when it's at like $3 again, and let's say they buy it like $3 right here. Of course, in the short term, it might go higher, it might go to like $5, but that could be the top, and then the people who bought it like $3 and FOMO'd in, instead of, you know, buying in the support zone, for example, down here or down here right now, the people who bought right here at $3 will most likely lose money in the bear market because they will not sell at all-time highs, obviously not. If it's going to like $3, I mean, the YouTubers during that time will say that, yeah, you know, Cardano is going to like $50 in this cycle. And obviously that's a very idiotic thing to say, but that's what happened in the previous cycle. When Cardano was at like $1, everybody was saying that it would go to like $50. And what do you know, it topped at $3, and the people who bought at like $1.50 were still up like 2x, but they did not sell because they got too greedy. And yeah, they held their altcoin during the bear market, and you know, from $3 it went all the way down to like 22 cents, and right now those people are complaining in my comment section, calling Cardano a scam or a dead coin, even though right now it's not even supposed to be at all-time highs. Now of course, from the 4-year cycle point of view, 4 years ago it was already at all-time highs. However, you have to keep in mind that 4 years ago we were in QE, and also during this time when Cardano went up like this, Cardano went up on its own, it did not go up with the other altcoins. During this time, Bitcoin dominance was still going sideways, it was not going down. So yeah, in this cycle, Cardano is not going up on its own. Is that bearish? Well, not really, because Bitcoin dominance is still at 60%, meaning that when it drops, Cardano will most likely get a huge pump. And of course, that's not financial advice, but like I said many times, I have been right about Cardano so far, and maybe I'm going to be wrong at some point, but I still think that Cardano has a big chance to get to all-time highs, and we'll see if that happens or not. I mean, I'm still bullish on this coin because we are respecting support, and we could always drop to the support zone, right? Well, not the support zone, we could always drop to the trend line right here at about, let's say, 65 cents, and if we break below the trend line, we could get a double bottom, but I don't really expect Cardano to go below 50 cents, you know, in the long term at least. It could get a wick to 50 cents, but, you know, I don't think it will get to the next extension, which is the 0.786, but who knows, I have been wrong a couple of times. For example, about Bitcoin dominance, I thought it would start dropping right here, and turns out this was a fake out and we kind of fell for it. So yeah, right now we are waiting for another big drop, and when that drop happens and when we get below 54% on the Bitcoin dominance chart, I will finally be able to say that the altcoin season has started. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I know these videos are kind of boring and I don't really say anything new, but that's because there's nothing new to to say, if you watched at least 5 of my videos, you should already know what's going on in the market. So we are still waiting for a decision, and when that decision happens, don't expect the market to pump all of a sudden. Maybe it's going to do that, but maybe we'll just keep going sideways until the end of March, like I've been saying for the past few months. So I think it's possible that we do that, and like I said, until we get a cross on the bull market support band, things could continue being boring. So that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.